What's going on, guys? This video I've been wanting to make for a long time. It's been on a list of things to do, and what better time? I hurt my back. I've pretty much been in the house just doing nothing, trying to stretch and get my back in order. So I've been doing landscaping for 20 years and firewood on and off, and now this is like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years I've been doing firewood and getting bigger and bigger and growing. So I wanted to talk to you guys about what you need to start a firewood business, and obviously a lot has to do with how much you do want to grow, because buying things like, say, a dump trailer or a dump truck or something like that, like if you buy a dump trailer, you're going to want to buy, if you plan on growing, you're going to want to buy probably the biggest one you could afford at the time. We'll talk about log splitters, what log splitters I would recommend to start, and we'll go from there. So over there, my wood stand is missing some wood, and I don't know if I'm going to try and stock it or have my friend help me do it. I don't want to disrupt my back. I do want to give it another day before I try and fill it, but we'll see. So first thing you're going to need is firewood, or logs. Not firewood, but logs. Or if you wanted to buy firewood that's already split, you could do that too. But when buying a log splitter, you're going to need logs. So whether you go through a tree service to get logs, give them some money, or I don't know, sometimes you can get free wood, and all my wood's free. But you need logs to start your business. So a lot of my logs here, they're all different sizes. I have some really skinny poles, some really crooked poles, and some really big stuff. This one isn't really big, but over here there's giant ones, cutting with a 36-inch bar and still not going all the way through. You can't really see them. They're behind these, but these are pretty big also. These are probably 30 inches. So we're going to start with the log splitter that if I was going to do it all over again, without having a tractor, without having a mini skid steer, what splitter I would buy, and that would be a splitter just like this. So this splitter is, I don't know, around $7,000 at this point. This is an excess wolf ridge. So it's just a fast, basic log splitter. You can get it with auto cycle, meaning this will go out and come back pushing 2 levers, or a log lift. I always go with a log lift because I have tree service wood and a bad back, obviously, guys. So you've got a 4-way, 6-way is not recommended, but it will push a 6-way. So something like this, I can push around the yard by myself, and I don't need a quad or a machine to move it around. So having a machine that's a lot lighter is easier to move around the wood yard. So what I plan to do, how I'm going to do it is, I'm going to put it over here, split some of this, and stack as I go. And this is the other side. All this wood's going to be for the firewood stand. So this isn't going to be for bulk sales. Bulk sales are where the big splitter is. So when starting a business, I don't think you need to buy the biggest and the best log splitter. Buy what you can afford. And if you can afford a big log splitter, buy that. But big log splitters, you're going to have something to move it around. My SHO with the diesel, I could pull it with the quad, but the quad doesn't like that, and that's, I don't know what that is. That's a 700cc quad. It's a pretty big, it's an Arctic Cat V-twin. So buy a smaller splitter if you don't have a machine, and that's perfect, guys. When I started my business, I basically just wanted to do bundles, but all wood's not bundle wood, so it ended up being bulk sales, and I made the looser racks at the stand, and I got a VS. So the VS is definitely probably my favorite log splitter. The VS is awesome, especially if you're working by yourself. It's a great log splitter. Everything's right out front. You have your logs right here, right over here. Everything's out front, and you don't have to walk around the machine or anything like that. And you can make perfect wood and really get a lot of wood done pretty quick. And obviously you can do that with a bigger log splitter if you have 6-way wedges and box wedges and stuff like that. The vertical splitter, though, you're not moving this by hand. There is smaller vertical splitters you probably can move by hand, but they're a lot smaller, and they're a great option to start a business. You could definitely move it around with a quad, a small quad, I don't know, but any quad, I don't know, 400 and above, definitely move that baby around. And then we got the big one here, and this splitter is for the guys working for me. So I don't use this splitter as much as them. I do split sometimes with them, but most of the times I'm cutting and we're going up into a big pile, and the wood yard is just an absolute mess right now. A splitter this big though is not needed to start a firewood business. Neither is a conveyor. You could toss it in the pile or you could stack it right off the splitter. This is my skid steer splitter. I put this on the mini Bobcat MT100. This I'm gonna sell, and I do have the Versa split. We'll walk over there in a second. But you can see like these rounds here, they're pretty big. And I'd rather bust these in half or maybe in a quarter before I give them to the guys and put them on the splitter. And as for me, my wood yard, what I find is when I have the guys here, I don't want to be cleaning up and moving splitters and everything else. I want them to be splitting wood because I have the Bobcat MT100. So that does all the cleanup. That does everything, the lifting of the totes, moving stuff around. So I try and have a fresh slate when the guys come in. That way we can split for 8 hours straight, you know, eat a good lunch. And when they leave, I'll clean up with the machine because it's a couple hours to clean up with the machine, and the guys don't need to be standing around while I'm cleaning up. And if I can, I'll clean up while they're splitting. I'll clean up a little bit. I definitely move totes around and stuff like that while I have to cut wood. If you could afford a mini skid steer or a tractor right away, depending on your wood yard, if you have a small area, a mini skid steer is going to move around and get through tight spots like this. This is my big pile of ash, and this is actually my wood shed here. That's all the scraps back here that I burn. I got to move this log out of the way, but there's all the scraps that I burn in there. It's just an old shed. So if you want to start a firewood business and say you could afford a splitter, you can get logs, but you don't have a trailer and you have a pickup truck, start delivering just face cords at a time, 1/3 of a cord. Get yourself a nice little fast splitter and deliver face cords, 1/3 of a cord, deliver them, and I don't know, maybe you'll find a niche, because guys around me, they want to deliver 2, 3, 4, 5 cords. They don't want these small deliveries, and a lot of customers do want cords, but a lot of customers don't need a full cord. They could just go with 1/3 of a cord. So you could charge a little bit more and sell just 1/3 of a cord at a time, and I think that's a great way to start. I'm still growing the business, and we're going to continue growing. A lot of people say, get a processor, get a processor, get a processor. So if I sold, including my mini, all my equipment, I could afford a processor. But then I won't have my mini to load the processor. So we're growing. I might get a processor eventually. I have a lot of decent wood that would probably go through a processor, but then I also have 50% wood that will not go through a processor. Pretty much none of this will go through a processor. And you could see there's big rounds back here. I mean, these guys are real big. And back over there, there's a ton of wood here that we got to put up on the splitter. So all this wood in here is probably, I mean, there's exception for a few, but it's probably over 32, 33 inches. On that back side, there's some big ones. So buying a processor would be useless for me right now. But as you know, as we grow and as time goes on, if I'm able to process all this wood with no payroll, you know, or pay one guy and load the processor and keep pushing, I get all this wood done, and then I can focus on that wood. So down the road, a processor would be awesome. If you're buying truckloads of wood, perfect processor wood, yes, a processor would work. But if you're getting free tree service like me, a processor is just not worth spending the money right now until we grow into it. And maybe if we grow into it, maybe we'll say, hey, we're going to stop taking these big rounds and we're only going to take processor wood. And then we could eliminate having the log splitters, or just have one log splitter. But all stuff like this, like these, you could see they're short because they're heavy. A couple I had to cut in half because the mini couldn't lift it. Stuff like that. There's a lot of junk, but there's a lot of good wood in here too. There is some people that say it's not worth getting free firewood. Just buy your loads of firewood. If you pay $110 a cord of poles and you put it through a processor, that's all fine and good. It all depends what you guys want to do. I'm just saying do it, you know, start a firewood business. So it's a lot of fun. It's exercise. It keeps you busy. And it's awesome to just to see how much wood you create over time and then sell it and then start all over. It's just awesome to have big giant piles of firewood, seasoned, ready to go, not seasoned, not ready to go. A lot does depend on what you want to do and how you want to do it. And I've learned a lot through the landscape business of what mowers to have in a trailer, because I can't say no to customers that have a small fence in the backyard and we can't cut the lawn. So it's a little different when it comes to that, and that's kind of why I have 3 splitters. We run 2 at the same time, not all the time, but when I catch up on cutting, I'll run the VS and they run the big one. I said that in lots of videos before. And then the smaller splitter is for the smaller wood on that side, instead of, because that's where we store all the wood that comes in from the tree service. And then this side is where we split. So only the big stuff will come to this side. If I have a big log and I grab a small one, it's not a big deal. We'll split some small logs over here also. But I prefer the small stuff just to stay over there, cut it right where it sits, right where it's stacked. Split it with the excess. Sometimes if we're caught up over here on this side and I want to cut over there, I'll take the guys over there, and 3 guys on that excess, we really can pump out wood and stack at the same time. So that's really important. And then I store all the bundle wood. We stack it right into IBC totes. This is all, well, there's ash in the front and oak on the back. The oak's ready to go. This ash is pretty much ready to go. You can see here, I have small cherry. This is cherry for pizza ovens and stuff like that. That's another tote of cherry. This is hickory. It's not stacked in here, but this is all smaller hickory, smoking wood, pizza wood. And then the rest is just firewood. This is where we're selling the oak out of. There is maple, hard maple, there's other stuff in here. So separating wood in your area could be really beneficial. And in my area, nobody really calls and says, I want a quart of oak. Nobody really does that. But I do separate just for drying times and stuff like that. And if people do ask, you know, I could just give them oak, or I could just give them ash, or just give them cherry. I separate cherry, separate hickory for the most part. But like this here, this is locust. So this will all go with the oak. We got a ton of locust. We were gonna mill some of it, but we didn't. And then on the bottom is just oak. So all this is gonna go on the big splitter on that side. We ran out of space on the other side of the wood yard. So that's why this ended up over here. And we're cutting the ash rounds in front of this. And it's just an absolute mess over here. So I gotta get this cut. I gotta get all this cleaned up. Hopefully my back will start to feel better. I'm walking around. I wasn't able to walk for a couple days, and back pain is just awful. So that's pretty much it, guys. And I hope this helps somebody out. And I appreciate everybody taking the time out and watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.